Let's look at some PFF statistics to talk about Travon Walker for a second, because these will really hit home how his numbers are just ugly. They are. There's no getting around it. His numbers are bad. And listen, we're going to talk about some good about Travon Walker as well. His measurables is plenty of reason to be optimistic, and there's some good stuff on tape as well. But we can't talk about the good unless we talk about the bad, and the bad isn't just bad in terms of for a first overall pick. It's not even bad in terms of for a NFL prospect in general. It was just below average for a college player in a lot of these categories. You go through the list, so a pass rush grade of 64.5, you see that the little chart, that circle, that's going to be where you were in terms of percentile grade. So the further to the right you are, the better. That line in the middle, that's the 50% mark. So he was below average for college players in a pass rush grade. You look at run defense, that was above average, so good. Still not great for a first overall pick or even for a first round pick, but at least like good for college. His true pass set pass rush grade, again, below average here. And, his pass rush win rate, significantly below average at just 9.8%. And even his run stop rate was below average, which that's kind of what he was talked about as he's a great run stopper. His run stopping statistics, if you like PFF, weren't great. Now, some people don't love PFF because there is an element of subjectiveness here, which I think is okay. I think a stat can have some flaws and still be worth noting because every stat in the NFL has some flaws. Because, at the end of the day, it still is a bunch of people giving what they believe is happening, which, you're not in the huddle. You can't say for certain that that's what's happening, and there, can be mistakes that are made. So it isn't perfect, although I would still say it's better than like using tackles or something. And I would also mention that these things do actually translate to the NFL pretty well. Guys who are good at this stuff tend to be good at the NFL level. Guys who aren't good at this stuff, often aren't good at the NFL level. Now, you might be arguing, well, wait a second. Okay, a lot of these stats aren't great, but that's because of situations he's been in. It's situational stuff. It's not because he himself is screwing up. He's actually doing what he's supposed to do. Well, let's look at kind of accounting for that situation. Austin Gayle, someone who, formerly of PFF fame, he tweeted out a few of these things that I found very fascinating. So this one is career pass rush win rates from head up or inside the tackle alignments on 3rd and 4 plus. So you see like Devontae Wyatt at the top, Travis Jones and Cameron Thomas near the top, all the way at the bottom, Travon Walker at just 6%. Pass rush win rates in one-on-one situations, so no double teams or chips or anything. You see that, again, Aiden Hutchinson at the top, 31%. Travon Walker all the way at the bottom at just 12%, and we're still getting a decent sample size here. One more, this one's a bit smaller, so sorry, but best Power 5 single season pass rush win rates from pure outside of tackle assignments since 2017. So you can see guys like Chase Young, Nick Bosa, Josh Allen, Aiden Hutchinson, George Karlaftis at the top. Meanwhile, all the way at the bottom, tied for 156, Travon Walker at just 15%. Not saying that he's at the bottom of any of these categories, but he's well below a lot of these, top hyped up prospects for sure. Now let's look at this chart here. What this chart is his consensus rank through a period of time from midway through February all the way till essentially now. I'm not sure why they still do it after the draft, but that's what they do. You see how it's the same after the draft. But you see that there was a clear jump, right? He was kind of floating around high second round pick until he jumps up to being a fringe top 5 pick, where he ended up being around, I believe, 4th on the consensus big board. He ended up getting drafted 1st overall, of course. So if those numbers are so bad, why was there that random jump? I mean, what even happened there? Well, that time was right around the combine, where he put together one of the best combines of all time, really. Look at these statistics here. This combine is fantastic. And listen, I'm sure people are going to say it wasn't just the combine, but clearly the combine had a huge role, and in my opinion, that's okay. Like, this stuff can be a decent predictor in future success. And you see some of this stuff. I mean, again, just so you know what you're looking at, the dot furthest to the right, that's the highest percentile you are. So the better you are at something, the further to the right it is. And you see a lot of dots all the way to the right. I mean, his height and weight is all the way to the right, but his 40-yard dash is even further to the right. And that's just kind of crazy. Again, these statistics that you're looking at, these measurables, are like a solid cornerback measurables that he's doing as an edge rusher. That alone is very good and clearly shows that, like, no, this guy is an incredible athlete, and that matters. I mean, athleticism can help you win football games, can help you be a good edge rusher, and typically, some of the guys that are undervalued will sometimes beat the guys and kind of that have these great measurables. You see like a Danielle Hunter, who was sort of a third-round pick who had these great measurables and eventually figured it out, although it did take him a couple of years. He was always a good run defender, even in college, but his pass rush, he figured it out at the NFL level. You have someone like a Rashawn Gary, who was this great athlete who didn't have a ton of production, had more than Travon Walker, but still, took him a couple years, but did figure it out. So this is optimistic, and I want to be very clear. I don't want to downplay his combine performance in any way. This is very good and should get Jaguars fans excited. Is this enough for me to jump him up to a first overall pick? No, it isn't, but there is value here. And finally, just to touch on some film, something like this, we did see some flashes of really good play from Travon Walker when he was, at the college level, and this is an example of it. The left tackle is going to block an interior defensive lineman, but then get over to block Walker right away and watch what happens. Look, as you see, so he does a good job and I think gets himself over, but Walker's going to kind of use his arm length, which he has good arm length, and reach out and kind of push that tackle back to where Walker can do what he wants to do at this point. He pulls off a swim move and is able to get over, and the run was already stopped before he got there, but if it wasn't, he would have been able to make a play. So that's a win right there. That did happen. My only concern with Walker is these plays just did not happen anywhere close to enough for me to feel comfortable about drafting him with a top pick. It's not I don't think he's capable of making good plays concern. It's he just did not make good plays anywhere consistently enough at the college level for me to feel comfortable drafting him where the Jaguars drafted him. Say what you want about those statistics, but those statistics are true. Those statistics are real, and those statistics are not lying. Now, listen, maybe there's an explanation for those statistics. I've heard explanations, and none of them really hold too much water to me, because yes, Walker did get moved around a bunch. That did happen, but I think even when you factor that in, his numbers still weren't great. So for me, I would just need to have a better explanation than what I've heard. It's not to say you shouldn't draft him because of these numbers, but you need an answer to why were these numbers so bad, and I haven't heard a sufficient one. But again, there are things to like about him. Something like this, that's where he is on the field, and watch what's going to happen. As you see, he is going to drop back into coverage, and I think do a good job of getting into passing lane. I mean, quite frankly, I don't think it's crazy to think that Walker could be a guy who we see get a lot of coverage snaps. I think that's probably the way you want to use him, of like a Kyle Van Noy type. I just don't draft Kyle Van Noy first overall. That's kind of how I view it. And look, as you see, when the ball eventually gets thrown over, he does a good job of getting over and making the tackle. Again, the athleticism works, and the athleticism will come into play. At the end of the day, having someone who's faster helps you win football games. Having someone who's stronger helps you win football games. All those things will help you at the NFL level. So you're going to have to teach him up, and every defensive coordinator and every defensive line coach believes that they can, teach up anybody, right? Coach up anybody. That's what they all believe. Don't know how true that is, but, Walker's certainly someone who, if you believe you can coach anyone up, he's someone to get excited about. So that's kind of, my main reason why I have some concerns for Walker. I want to make another video kind of really detailing it after the draft. So let me know what you guys think of this in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.